So thanks for joining us, everyone, for the July Business Series presented by PNC. I am really excited about today's topic. We thank you for joining us again virtually. If you've been to Business Series in the past, you know that it's typically an in-person event at the Center for Community Engagement, and we hope to be back there again soon. But for now, it's just great for us to be able to gather together virtually, and we thank PNC for making that possible. So I'm Elaine Bonneau, I'm the director of Downtown Inc., and we have a great presentation for you this morning. Before we jump into our topic, I just wanted to share a couple things with you. First of all, as I said, we host this the third Wednesday of every month. So please save the date for the next business series, which will be August 19th. That topic will be intellectual property and trademark. And if there are other topics that you are interested in learning about in the future, if you would just drop your suggestions in the chat below. We'd love to hear from you as we continue to think about what's relevant for us right now. What should we be talking about in business series? There's a calendar planned out for the rest of the year, but as you know, things do change. And with the current situation with COVID and all of us really adjusting and being nimble in the way we do business to be more effective, we certainly want to think about that as we think about our topics for social or for the business series. Also coming up in August, on August 13th, we are holding the Downtown First Awards. This is the 20th anniversary of the Downtown First Awards, and it's one of our most celebrated and anticipated events, and it just really celebrates the people, the businesses, the organizations who put downtown first and make York City a great place to live, work, play, and visit. And so we thought it was important that we still hold that event. We're doing it in a different way this year. We're going to be at People's Bank Park, home of the York Revolution, so we can be really spread out and socially distanced on the field and taking the proper precautions so that everyone stays safe and has a great time. And what we invite you to do between now and July 20th, so that gives you a few days, is submit your nominations in 8 categories. Who should we be recognizing this year? There's so many people doing amazing work in York City. And so we would welcome you to give us your nominations and join us on August 13th at People's Bank Park for that celebration. So let's jump into our topic. I got my coffee. I hope you have your coffee, tea, smoothie, drink of choice for our topic today. Because we're doing this virtually and we have a lot of people joining us this morning, we're not going to do the verbal Q&A. We're going to do Q&A through you can see the button at the bottom. So if you have questions as we're going through the presentation, please drop those in the Q&A and I will field those at the end. As we always do, we'll leave about 15 minutes to answer questions. So joining us this morning to talk about social media strategies for small businesses is Christine Gritman of Christine Gritman Inc. And I think any of us who are in either have been small business owners or have had any responsibility in our organization around communicating via social media, it can be daunting. Where should you be? Which platforms are right for you? Where are your customers? What should you be saying? And Christine is going to show you kind of the basics of the major social media platforms, where you should be, where you shouldn't be, and how to best gain traction and increase your audience. And, you know, I think what you're going to love about Christine is she has a passion for social media, but also just so much enthusiasm around helping business owners, solopreneurs, independent employees, just to manage their social media, have fun with it, and be successful. You can do it, and she's going to show you how. So with that, as they say, sharpen your pencils and get ready for some good content and good discussion and good Q&A, we hope, at the end. And with that, I'll turn it over to Christine. Thanks for joining us, Christine. Pleasure to have you.
Hi there. Thank you so much for having me. As was just stated, I do have a very strong passion for small business and social media. Small businesses really are the lifeblood of our communities. And one of the things I love so much about social media is that it has given small businesses, the very smallest businesses, the same opportunity to get incredible reach as the big guys. So I am going to talk about that today. Let me bring up my presentation. We're going to go through, there's so many options on social media that it can often be daunting. So I'm going to go through some of the major platforms, why you would want to be on them, but then I'm also going to talk about what to post and how to engage. That is really, really key. So many people worry so much about what they're putting out there that they don't think about the engagement part, and that is really, really crucial. I'm also going to talk very, very briefly about advertising. I'm not going to go too far into it. I'm just going to give you the basics on that. So again, what we're going to cover is what platforms you should be on, setting up profiles for maximum impact, because ideally you want your profile to do some of the work for you. It's not just about the content that you're posting, but content strategy is also important. That's something a lot of people get stuck on. Don't just broadcast, engage. And some ideas for video. A lot of people have heard that video is something they should do. They're a little bit freaked out by it. So I'm going to talk about some things that you can do on video. It's not just talking head live videos that you see out there. You can do all sorts of things with video. And then again, just a brief overview of advertising. So we're going to start with the most obvious social media platform, which is Facebook. And I would imagine a lot of you are on Facebook. A lot of you probably also have mixed feelings about Facebook. So we're going to talk a little bit about it. So the pros of Facebook are, of course, that everyone's on it, right? Even the people who say they're not on Facebook, statistics show Facebook knows how many people are actually logging on to Facebook. Millions of people are logging on to Facebook every day. So that whole quit Facebook or I'm not on Facebook is overstated. So many people are still on Facebook, and it has the widest demographic base of all of the social media platforms. It doesn't skew as young as it used to. So the younger people are dropping off of Facebook. If your real core demographic is under about 25 or 30, Facebook might not be the best spot for you, but generally speaking, it does have the broadest age demographic, it has the broadest, socioeconomic demographic, it has the broadest global demographic. It really is a great place for lots of different kinds of people. People who don't do social media often still have a Facebook account so that they can check in on family, friends, and what's going on locally. Another advantage of Facebook is that it is a catch-all for all different types of content. A lot of the other social media platforms, as we'll discuss, sort of skew more heavily towards specific types of content. So Instagram, for example, is very heavily about visuals. You can do video, you can do text, but it skews heavily towards visuals. Twitter skews heavily towards words. You can do video, you can do pictures, but it skews heavily towards words. Facebook, all across the gamut. You can do text-only posts, you can do links, you can do pictures, you can do videos, you can do live videos, you can do watch parties where you watch videos with people. You can create events, which are very powerful. You can run fundraisers. You can have a store on Facebook, and I am going to talk more about Facebook and Instagram shopping just a little bit later. But the whole point is Facebook has the most types of content in common use. Although I have to point out that Facebook's algorithm, even though it wants you to use all those things, it wants you to use pictures, it wants you to use videos, it wants you to use them all in the service of creating conversations. We will talk about that in the engagement part. But the fact is you can do the most things on Facebook. And then finally, it has, well, not finally, but it has very strong advertising tools. All of the major social media platforms do have their own advertising interfaces, but Facebook has very, very strong advertising tools that allow you to get incredibly detailed with audience targeting. And even though ad spend varies widely, there's no like an ad on Facebook costs this much, because it's a constant auction, because you're constantly sort of jockeying for position on each individual newsfeed, the fact remains that Facebook, if you're doing your targeting correctly, can offer you the most impact for the least amount of money. And it also offers you the most options in terms of creative, in terms of targeting, in terms of placements. It's a very, very strong advertising system. And because Facebook owns Instagram, you can handle your Instagram advertising through Facebook's Ads Manager, which I highly recommend because Instagram's native advertising tools are not that robust. So Facebook advertising is a big reason to be on Facebook. You can get results for a few dollars. I've done it. I've put $5 towards an ad before and gotten results. You can do it very cheaply. Finally, and I just added this one in, Facebook has a new feature called Creator Studio. Creator Studio is a little buggy right now because they're kind of trying to do too much with it too fast. But the fact is, it is aiming towards becoming an incredible system where not only can you control all of your creative assets, your pictures, your videos, all these different things in one spot, it also brings Instagram into it. You can also control your messages and your engagement. Every comment on every post you get on Facebook or Instagram can also be managed, seen, and responded to in Creator Studio. You can also do pre-scheduled live videos, cross-posted live videos, all sorts of incredible things in Creator Studio. It is a complicated thing, so I'm not going to get into it here because I'm sticking to kind of the basics of what you need to know. But that is another very big advantage that Facebook has, which is that none of the other platforms have that robust a content management system within them. Facebook cons, big thing, the big elephant in the room. Anytime we talk about Facebook, well, now there's a new elephant, and it's a little bit political with the ad boycott. But the fact is, aside from that, it is hard to get organic reach, or it can be hard to get organic reach on Facebook. Here's what I mean by that. Organic means not paid, right? You're not putting ad dollars behind it. It's just the stuff you're putting out there for free. And in January 2018, Facebook made a big announcement saying that the algorithm, which is the computer program that weighs a number of factors to decide who it shows your content to, was going to deprioritize. It didn't officially say deprioritize pages and publishers and prioritize individual profiles, but that was the end effect. What it really said, and what people misunderstood, is that what the announcement really said is that the algorithm was prioritizing meaningful interaction. That is the exact phrase they used, meaningful interaction, which means it wants people having conversations. It doesn't just want likes. It doesn't just want a heart. It wants people putting reasonably sized, full comments on there. A comment of above 5 words is actually worth more. There's emojis in there. That's great. But it wants conversations. It doesn't just want those comments. It wants those comments to lead to other comments on that comment and whole conversation threads going. And that can be a lot for some people. People are kind of already worrying about what to post. Now they have to worry about starting conversations. So it can be a little bit daunting. So it can be tricky. It's more work than it used to be to get organic reach because of the algorithm shift. So a lot of people worry that a lot of people say Facebook has become pay to play. A lot of people say that a business can't get traction on Facebook without paying for ads. It's not true, but it's closer to true than it used to be. So that can be frustrating for a lot of people who used to get better organic reach. Also, as I mentioned before, the younger people have left Facebook. So if you are really skewing towards those 20-somethings, Facebook is not really the best way to reach them. However, in that case, I would strongly advise don't not have a Facebook because it still shows up very well in search results. It's sort of the main street of the internet at this point. I would just say, make sure your profile is nice and strong so it does more of the work for you and you can kind of have it as a passive thing. I wouldn't not have a Facebook page if you're skewing for that younger demographic. I'd just have it and maybe give less attention to it than something like Instagram. And just to tell you in advance, I'm not going to get into TikTok. I'm sticking to the big 4. Okay, and then another thing is more engagement. As I said before, with the algorithm shift, more of the engagement is on personal profiles, not so much on business pages. That does not mean that you should use your personal profile for business. It is against Facebook's terms of service. It's also just an annoying thing to do. You can share things from your business page as your personal profile on occasion. You can also, within group rules, you can take stuff from your business page and as a person on your personal profile, share that to any local groups you may be a part of, but check the rules because a lot of local groups do have rules against promotion. But you know, there's ways to use your personal profile to help your business page along, but that doesn't mean that your personal profile should become where you do business. You really should stick to a business page. Business pages also give you analytics. They also allow you to advertise. But it can be tempting and frustrating because, again, profile posts get a lot more reach than business pages. Okay, moving on to Instagram. I think Instagram is actually going to be really relevant for a lot of you. It's very relevant for a lot of small businesses and a lot of local businesses. So first of all, Instagram does have that younger audience that has left Facebook. But it's not just a younger audience. It's not like Snapchat was or is. It's not like TikTok where the audience is predominantly young, because on Instagram, it really is still fairly broad. I feel like from my own anecdotal experience, I haven't seen as many of the higher end older people on Instagram as I have on Facebook checking out pictures of their grandkids, but Instagram is still pretty broad. It definitely, you know, the grown-ups are on Instagram, but so are the kids. So it is still broad, but it skews younger than Facebook does. It's visually appealing. Instagram is all about visuals. It used to be only visuals. You used to have to literally take a photograph in the app and post it instantly, hence Instagram. Now, of course, you can do all sorts of things. You can upload photos that have already been taken. You can do video. You can do text posts. Those are very popular where you go into a graphics program like Canva, which we'll talk about later, and put, you know, a quote in there or something with your nice little graphic lockup. So it's not only about images, but it is still predominantly about images. You want to make sure your captions are good, but the fact is no one's going to stop their Instagram scrolling to read your caption unless your visual stops them. So it's very visually appealing. And also it's a happy place. It's less political, it's less negative. A lot of us have been frustrated lately when we go on Facebook and everyone's arguing about things. Or we go on Twitter and, you know, Twitter just, if you're in the wrong spots on Twitter, it can be a very scary place. Instagram's a happy place. Instagram, everyone wants to look at pretty pictures. It's not that it exists outside of the real world. There's certainly stuff going on Instagram that is dealing with some of the realities that are happening right now. But generally speaking, Instagram can be a very pleasant place and a nice reprieve from the negativity on other social media sites. They're also always developing new and exciting features. They are owned by Facebook, so they have Facebook's heft, they have Facebook's money, they have Facebook's top-notch team. But Facebook knows that Instagram as a platform is growing faster than Facebook is as a platform. And instead of getting jealous of their little sister, they said, hey, let's get that money. So now all of Facebook's R&D, all of Facebook's new features, a lot of that energy is really devoted to Instagram. It's really devoted to making Instagram more robust because they know that that's what's growing. So stories is a big one. Instagram stories kind of killed Snapchat in a way. Snapchat was taking market share away from Facebook. Instagram introduced stories. They went really hard on Instagram stories, which are basically a direct ripoff of Snapchat. Soon enough, Instagram was much bigger and growing much more than Snapchat was. Stories are huge. There are a lot of people, especially in the millennial demographic, which we know is not only very large numerically, you know, there are a lot of millennials out there, but they also have a lot of spending power and they're growing up now. So they're adults, they're young adults, they're not just kids. Millennials, a lot of them are just looking at stories. They're kind of skipping the whole scrolling through the Instagram feed at graphics and they're just looking at stories. that's a huge opportunity. And new features are being added to stories all the time. There's a sticker for donations if you're a nonprofit. There's a sticker to order stuff if you're a restaurant. There's just so many features constantly being added to stories. There are going to be more and more features added to stories. That's a huge area of development for Instagram. Similarly, IGTV, which is Instagram's longer form video. Stories are like 15-second clips of videos. In the regular Instagram feed, you can have a video of up to a minute. That's still pretty short. Instagram is for kind of quick consumption. IGTV is for longer form video. It's their competitor to YouTube in a way, even though it's very different. Instagram recently made the very smart shift towards Instagram Live. Instagram Live, you used to be able to just go live, but then it would disappear in 24 hours. You could not save it to a story highlight. It would just be gone. Now you can save live streams on Instagram as IGTV videos. And they're investing even more in IGTV. There's a new Explore feed for IGTV. So again, these are new features Instagram is coming out with. Shopping is a huge focus for Instagram right now. Not only having the ability to shop from Instagram, they're also rolling out more and more the ability to check in, to check out, to do your whole transaction, your whole purchase transaction without leaving the app. A lot of people who have Instagram shopping right now, you can, make something clickable and it'll lead someone to that place on your website where you can buy that thing. Instagram is increasingly rolling out the ability to do the entire transaction on Instagram. Only a few huge companies have it right now because they're part of the beta test. But Instagram really does want to be a destination like that. So again, Instagram's getting a lot of R&D, a lot of new and exciting features that then trickle down to Facebook, honestly. So it's a good place to be. Instagram cons. First of all, it can be hard to come up with visuals. If you are a shop and you're selling merchandise, it's clear what you're posting visuals of. If you're a restaurant, it's clear what you're posting visuals of. You're making people hungry. But if you're a tax attorney, it's a little hard to come up with visuals. So that can be one con of Instagram. People aren't sure what to post unless they are in a very visually appealing field. So that's one con of Instagram. You really do have to have good visuals for that. And also, you can't put links in posts. There's 2 places on Instagram where you can have a link that leads elsewhere. And it's new that there are even 2. The one place traditionally where you can have a link that will actually work in Instagram is in your bio. It's the only place. You can't have a link in your post. A lot of people put in their post link in bio if they want you to click over to something. So that's one thing. The other place you can put links, and a lot of people don't know this yet, IGTV. If you post an IGTV video, you can put a link that will work in that caption. And that's almost a secret. People don't know and people don't do it. And there isn't a spot in there that says link. But if you put a link in your caption for an IGTV video, it will actually work. But again, your normal feed posts, you can't do that because Instagram wants people to stay in the app ultimately. So that's one frustrating thing. You can't just put links to everything in your posts. Also, hashtags. So hashtags are kind of the internet's filing system. It's a way of identifying this post is part of this larger conversation. File this under this topic. Instagram's algorithm really looks at hashtags. The hashtags you're using will impact who Instagram shows your content to, because Instagram says, oh, this person has interacted with a bunch of posts that use this hashtag. Maybe they'll like this post. So hashtags are incredibly important on Instagram. They're also especially important for local businesses because local hashtags are a huge way, not only for you to be found, but also for you to find who you want to be engaging with, which we'll get to in a bit. So a lot of people are daunted by that. They're wondering what to do with hashtags. They're wondering how they figure out what hashtags to use. How many do they use? Where do they put them? So that can intimidate a lot of people. So they either post without hashtags and then they feel like Instagram doesn't work because they're not getting seen, or they post the wrong hashtags. It's an art and a science. So people get intimidated by that. So that's another negative for some people about Instagram. It's a whole other thing for them to parse out. I'm going to go more quickly through these next two because I feel like they're a little less relevant for a lot of local businesses. So Twitter, we all know Twitter, right? Twitter, it's about conveying information. Again, you can do all these other great things on it, but Twitter, a lot of people are there to get information or to give information. Twitter moves very, very fast. You can see people's whole history of tweets on their page if they haven't deleted things, but when it comes down to it, people mostly consume Twitter in their news feed, and it goes very fast. The life of a tweet is not very long. Facebook, you can post something last Thursday and it'll just pop it in people's feeds today on Wednesday morning because that, you know, post has gained steam, it's gained engagement, and, you know, the algorithm takes that into account and it shows things later sometimes. Twitter's not really like that. Twitter won't go very far back in showing you things. Your news feed, it's not fully in the moment, but it's close. So the life of a tweet is very short, but it is about conveying information. You definitely want to put something in there that people can kind of latch onto. It's also a great place for establishing thought leadership and trust. If you get into the right conversations on Twitter with the right people, you can not only sound very smart, you can get opportunities. You can really get opportunities through Twitter and some respect through Twitter because, again, it's about conveying information. And if you do that effectively, it can really be to your benefit. And there's also the lowest barrier to entry for connection. Here's what I mean by that. If you're on Facebook and you want to talk to an individual, you generally have to be friends with them unless they're super public. People are a little more personal on Facebook, which means they're a little more private. On Instagram, same deal. Also, people are not as accustomed on places like Facebook and Instagram to have conversations with total strangers outside of, you know, feed threads. But even then, you know, on Twitter, it's a huge part of the culture that everyone just talks to everyone. A lot of high-ranking business people, celebrities, thought leaders are managing their own Twitter because it's about conversation. And if they're on a conversational platform, they want to be conversing as themselves. So generally speaking, you can tweet someone who maybe you wouldn't otherwise have access to, and they will often engage with you on Twitter. It's just part of the culture that just the barriers to who you do and don't interact with are lower. So it can be a great place to get access to some people who you may not otherwise. Also, a lot of journalists hang out there. If you're looking to get some press exposure, journalists hang out on Twitter. It's a big thing because Twitter's where news breaks. It's very instant. So journalists are on there too. So that's also a good place to reach them. The cons of Twitter, because it's about conveying information, not emotions, there's less emotional appeal on Twitter. You don't feel the same thing when you read a good tweet as you feel when you see a really compelling picture on Instagram. Oh, where'd it go? Oh, all right. That might have been my only con of Twitter, honestly. It can be a less interesting place to be in that regard. And then there's also the fact that there's parts of Twitter that get very contentious, but you can avoid those parts. You really can. All right, and I'm going to talk also very briefly about LinkedIn, because LinkedIn, even though I personally think everyone in business should be on LinkedIn, the fact is a lot of people, especially if they're a business to consumer business, opposed to business, I don't see as many of those people on Twitter. But anyway, the pros of LinkedIn: visibility. It's another opportunity to say, here's who I am, here's what I do, here's who I'm for. It never hurts to be on here. Again, it's also very good for, it has very good SEO. It comes up very high on search results. So your LinkedIn is going to be a really good place to get found. It's owned by Microsoft, which a lot of people don't know. So it does have a lot of heft behind it, and you will get found if you're on LinkedIn. It's great for relationship building. If you want to build a professional business relation, it's basically a networking platform. If you want to build professional network relationships with other business people, that's literally what LinkedIn is for. So that's another good thing. It's also great for, you know, knowing what you're there for. A lot of times on Facebook, on Instagram, there's sort of this push-pull of it's kind of personal, but I'm here for business. On LinkedIn, you're here for business. It doesn't mean don't be a person. It doesn't mean don't be human. But the fact is everyone's on LinkedIn isn't a party. It's a networking event. LinkedIn cons. That's one of the LinkedIn cons right there. There's less emotional appeal. Again, just like Twitter, you know, people are on LinkedIn to deal with business. They don't want to see pictures of your cat. And it is, again, as I said, a little bit more business to business oriented rather than consumer oriented businesses. Okay, moving on. And again, there's going to be a Q&A at the end. Company pages, that's another thing about LinkedIn. A lot of people say, well, I don't want to be dealing with, you know, my personal profile on LinkedIn. I would rather just be there as my company and have a company page. Company pages don't get like any reach on LinkedIn. You think the reach on company pages on Facebook is bad? LinkedIn, really, it's an untapped opportunity. I happen to know people who are in with the LinkedIn product people, and they swear to me that LinkedIn is really looking on some exciting new developments for company pages. They swear they're going to become super useful. Right now, they're not as useful. So that's another con of LinkedIn. It is hard to do things as your company page. Okay, setting up profiles. This goes for all of these platforms. Fill in all possible areas with information. Every single blank that's there is an opportunity. It's an opportunity for you to be found for something. That doesn't mean that all of the blanks are actually going to be relevant to you. For example, you know, I don't need to put in, there's a blank for menu on my Facebook page. I don't have a menu. I'm not a restaurant. So not everything is relevant. There's something called an impressum that confuses a lot of people on Facebook pages, and that's actually a foreign thing. That's not really something we use here in the United States. So within reason, on all of these platforms, if there's an opportunity for you to fill out a section with some information on yourself and your business, take it. Really do as much of that as possible. First of all, you're taking advantage of every square inch of virtual real estate that you're being given for free. So why wouldn't you? Second of all, a lot of that stuff can do the work passively for you, which is huge. So it's taking the pressure off your content a little, it's taking the pressure off your engagement a little, because this is something where someone can just find your page on their own or find your profile, depending on what platform you're on, and it can help them out. But it's also good for being found in search, because all of the platforms prioritize complete profiles. If there's you and there's a competitor, and the competitor has like 2 things filled out and you have a fully filled out profile, they're gonna show you first. Also, customize your URL where possible. Here's what I mean by that. This applies really, so Instagram and Twitter, it's automatic. Your Instagram.com/your username, your Twitter.com/your username. Facebook and LinkedIn, you have to actively go in and do that. So your business page would be facebook.com/2437004 automatically. You want to go in there and change it to your business name. On facebook.com/Christine Gritman Inc. It's very easy to tell people that. Same with LinkedIn. LinkedIn, you want to go in and customize linkedin.com/in/Christine Gritman. You know, it doesn't default to that. So you do want to go in and customize that whenever possible, so that instead of people having to search for you, they can just go there because you've told them something that's easy to remember. Your profile pic, a lot of people mess this up. Your profile picture for your business presence on Facebook, meaning pages, again, not talking about your personal profile, your Facebook business page, your Instagram for business, your LinkedIn company page, your Twitter company profile, you really should make that profile picture be your logo if you have one. Or if you're a business like I am, where you are the business and people really, they wouldn't recognize the logo as much as they recognize your face, that's fine. Then it can be your professional headshot. But the fact is, it should be pretty consistent. People should know that if they found you on one platform and then they find you on another platform, they should know it's the same business. So really keeping your profile consistent. Again, a lot of businesses like a restaurant or a store or something, it should be the logo. Your cover image or banner image, depending on what platform you're on, is where you can get interesting. So if we're talking about a Facebook page, if we're talking about a LinkedIn page, if we're talking about a Twitter, you have your profile picture as the logo, and then the cover image you can change as much as you want. It can be a picture of a yummy dish from your restaurant. It can be a picture of some cool merchandise that you got in this season at your store. That can get fun and interesting. And in fact, on Facebook, it can even be a video. But you do want to keep the profile image consistent and recognizable between the platforms. I actually break that rule a little bit because I have different headshots on my platforms, but they all look like me. You would not wonder if it was the same person. And again, when you're a personal brand, that's going to be more recognizable than the logo. But for most businesses, you should go with the logo. Again, you can change up the cover image. You can change it up as much as you want. That can get interesting. You can change it up to promote whatever you're promoting at the moment. Canva. There's a lot of visual programs out there. If you use Photoshop, great, keep using that. Adobe Spark, great, keep using that. There's a new one called Easil, E-A-S-I-L. That is really great. It's very similar to Canva. I'm using Canva here as an example because a lot of people have heard of Canva. It is completely free to use. They do have a paid version that they're going to keep trying to get you to do a free trial of. Most businesses don't need it. I actually pay for Canva, but I put out a lot of visuals. Canva makes it really easy to add text to visuals, to create beautiful little visual lockups. They have tons of templates. They're constantly coming out with templates designed by designers where you can just plug your own information into them and boom, you've got a beautiful professionally designed graphic. So they also have the sizes for a lot of these social media usages. They know the size of a Facebook cover image. They know the size of a LinkedIn banner, except that's a bad example because it's actually a little bit off. So, but still, generally speaking, Canva is an incredible free tool that I encourage you to check out to add text to visuals, which can come in very handy, you know, on a cover image, for example. Let's say you have a beautiful picture for your banner. Maybe you want to add your company name there or your logo there or your phone number there. It's very, very useful to, again, make those pieces of social media real estate, those graphics that are on your profile, work harder for you. It can also be great for creating content. Finally, so many people feel weird inviting their friends to like or follow their personal profiles on social media platforms. Don't feel weird. Who are these friends if they don't want to? I mean, you're asking them to click a button. So I strongly encourage you to get over it. Go ahead, invite your friends to follow or like your professional page or profile. Again, the algorithm unfortunately means they won't be seeing every post anyway. So you're not clogging up their feed. Just ask them. Just invite them. It's fine. Okay. And new shopping features. So this, I'm not going to do a whole thing about how to use them, but the fact is Facebook and Instagram, this is one place where they're getting really integrated. Instagram shopping, you can just set up straight up on Instagram, you can apply, but a lot of people get turned down when they apply for Instagram shopping because one thing that they don't tell you is that they strongly prefer that you first set up a Facebook shop on the Facebook page that is connected to your Instagram business profile. I'm going to provide a link in a little bit. I'm going to put in chat a link. My friend Deata wrote the most perfect step-by-step tutorial on how to get approved for Instagram shopping. And it guides you through how to set up your Facebook shop and Commerce Manager. And all of this is about to change, by the way. Facebook is revamping their Commerce Manager and their shop setup. But the fact is, it's not hard to do. There's just specific steps, and Facebook and Instagram don't really help you out with it. So I am going to provide a link to that later. But that's something, if you have merchandise that you can sell, I strongly recommend you to look into Instagram and Facebook shopping functionality. It's incredibly powerful and easy to use. Content strategy. This is the stuff that you're posting. Number one thing you should always bear in mind is why you. If you're a store, guess what? You probably sell merchandise that they could also order off Amazon. Why are they ordering it from you? Because your selection is well curated. They're buying your taste. You know, if you're a restaurant, there's probably someplace else that has similar menu items. Why you? Is it your environment? Is it your people? Is it the way you make this particular thing people love? Why you? Anything you do, whatever it is that you do for a living, someone else does it. Probably someone else in your area does it. Why you? You want always your post to answer that question of why you? Why are you the one that they should be going with? It's not just because you have pizza. Everyone has pizza. Who are you trying to reach and what are they looking for? And why are you the one that they want? So bear your audience in mind. Bear your audience's needs and wants and their search habits in mind when creating your posts, because you want to be what they find and you want to be what they wanted to find. And think about the words that they're using to find you, not the words you use to describe yourself necessarily. What words are they using? What are they looking for? Because that's how you're going to get found. How do they want to feel? You should have an overall brand impression with every post. Do they want to feel kind of cool and hip? Do they want to feel reassured? Do they want to feel like they're, you know, what do they want to feel? What general impression and mood do they want to get from your posts? And how do they want to feel reflectively, you know, as someone who's following you or as one of your consumers? What is going to rub off on them of your brand impression? What else are they looking at? What picture are you fitting into? Again, with this is complicated because on the one hand, you want to stand out. On the other hand, you want to fit in. It's very high school. But the fact is, you do want to stand out as different from your competitors. But the fact is, if you're too different from the other stuff they're looking at online, the algorithm won't show your stuff to them because it'll say, well, this isn't what they engage with. So you have to strike that fine balance between understanding what picture you're fitting into and a part of and be relevant to that, while also making that why you element clear and standing out from the noise. Personal content. People ask this all the time, especially small businesses. They say, you know, is it okay to put personal stuff on my business page? I feel a little weird about it. You know, should I have a full separation? Some personal content is okay. I have to say, especially for a small business and especially right now when we're all craving human connection, when someone is venturing out to spend their money right now, they're going to feel a little better about spending that money if they know it's going to a real human. So I do recommend having some humanness in your content and in your brand. It doesn't have to be you. It can be your staff who they see when they come in, who they've probably missed. You know, you can put humanness in there in a way that's not solely personal. It just has to connect. I was talking to a realtor client recently, and she said, well, I'm not sure, you know, I want to put, back before COVID, she was saying, I want to put things like my son's high school football game. I said, well, here's the thing. You're selling a community as part of your job as a realtor. So you can put that in because it relates to the community. You just have to tie it back, saying that one of the things you love about living in this community is how much love the community shows at your son's football games. So it connects to what she does. It connects to what she's selling, but it personalizes it. It's showing she's not just selling you something, she's experiencing it. So follow that guideline. How does this personal thing I'm posting actually connect to my business? Because it can. You don't have to have that firm a line. It's not no personal stuff ever. Okay, again, when you're posting something, start with what's interesting about it. So again, to go to a realtor, it's, you know, yes, it's great that you have beautiful professional shots of a house. Everyone's seen a beautiful professional shot of a house. But if you have a close-up on this cool architectural detail of that house, that's going to get a lot more eyeballs. That's going to stop people scroll. That's going to make people say, oh, let's check out the rest of this. If you are a store selling merchandise, again, people can get that merchandise elsewhere. But if you pair it with other merchandise, or if you show an interesting feature of this piece of merchandise that is why you love it, and you say, this is why I love it, that's going to be contagious. That's going to give people something to grip onto. Just saying, here's this thing, buy it, doesn't work anymore. People don't want to see that. People want to be interested. So start with what's interesting before you get into selling. Realize what platform you're on and how people post there. So if you're on Instagram, people post pretty graphics. You know, they're not posting, you know, boring looking stuff and relying on their caption. Similarly, if you're on Twitter, you're not just going to post a pretty picture with no words. You know, be aware of how people use each of these platforms. Don't just cross post. A lot of people have it set up so that their Instagram posts go straight to their Facebook page. Sometimes they even go right to their Twitter, which doesn't really work because it doesn't show the image. It just shows an ugly link. You can do that in moderation. It's better than nothing. If the alternate is you just have a great Instagram and you have nothing on your Facebook page, by all means, cross-post your Instagram post to your Facebook. But generally speaking, it's going to be a lot better if you take that piece of content and make tweaks to it before you post it to the different platforms. Also, people are hopefully following you on different platforms. You want to give them a customized experience so they're not sick of seeing you 3 times. Shared, curated content. So that's when you take someone else's content and you regram it, or you share it on Facebook, or you share it on LinkedIn or Twitter, you retweet on Twitter. That content can work. So you don't have to be the one creating all your content. You just have to provide value with it. Don't just share it. Share it with your own thoughts about why you're sharing it, about why you found this valuable. If you can even add additional value, like saying, hey, here's this article about this thing. Here's my experience with this same topic. What do you think? That, A, gets conversation going, but B, you've added value. You've added your own brand touch. You've given something to your audience who really ultimately wants to hear from you, not from the person you're sharing from. Interesting beats perfect. People are so worried about their posts being perfectly, perfect and professional, high quality, that they don't post anything. You can post something scrappy from your phone, honestly. As long as it's interesting, as long as it's on brand, as long as it communicates something to your audience, scrappy is okay. Just be relevant and give people something interesting to connect with. Finally, people wonder all the time, how many times should I post to this platform a week? How many times should I post that a week? What you're posting and why you're posting it, having a reason for that post to be there, matters a lot more than when you post, like time of day and how often. All those statistics you see that declare here's when to post and here's how much to post, those are about the entirety of that platform's audience. You should only care about your audience. And what you should really care about with your audience is what they want to see. Have a reason for putting that post out there. That matters so much more than the details. I'm so sorry. I know I'm running late on time. I'm probably going to have to really blow past a lot of this, but what you post should be the beginning, not the end. You need to get out there and engage. Posting great content, if nobody sees it, does nothing for you. Posting great content is not how you get seen. It is how people come back, but you have to engage with other people. Understand the algorithm and what they want, especially Facebook's. They want conversation. Have conversations. Put posts on there that start conversations and participate in them. Stay in those conversations. If people comment on your post, comment back. Be part of it. Don't only post about yourself. If every post is a hard sell, people are going to tune your posts out and they're not going to see them anyway. Occasionally give a shout out to someone else. Give a shout out to your Chamber of Commerce. Give a shout out to a different local business. Give a shout out to a charity, a local nonprofit that you're involved in. Give a shout out to a staff member. Do posts that aren't just trying to sell to people all the time. Do stuff that's not just, like that. Tag other people in trending hashtags only where relevant. So if a wider conversation is going on this particular topic and you want to hop in on that, make sure you have something relevant to bring to the table. Engage with other pages, profiles, and groups. This is huge, especially for local business. On Instagram, on Facebook, it is very easy to look at local groups, to look at local hashtags, and to find people who are using them. Go comment on their stuff. Seriously, just go comment on their stuff. That shows them that you exist, which is great if there's someone whose attention you want. It also shows the rest of their audience that you exist. So find people whose attention you want and find people whose audience's attention you want and make sure to be an active part of those audiences. That is really the best way to show the right people that you exist. Always aim to tell a story. That always gets people interested. Make people want to know more. That's ultimately, you really want to drive people to want to find out more about this thing you're offering. Give without asking. So if you can provide value in your posts, that is huge. Add some color. Don't make it boring. Don't make it like, here's the thing, here's the thing, here's the thing. Put some personality into it. They've seen that thing elsewhere. I promise you, they've seen that thing elsewhere or something similar to it. Put some of your personality into it. Make sure that there's a reason you're seeing it from you. Don't lose sight of the feeling you hope to evoke in them. I should say evoke, not invoke, but again, you want to leave an overall impression on them. and put in a call to action where relevant. Call us to check this out. Come in to check this out. Go to our website for more information. Where relevant. Don't do that on every post. Sorry, I'm just going to zip through this. I'm actually going to put all of these here. You can screenshot it if you would like. Oop. I would recommend just screenshotting this in all honesty because I know we're way over time. But here's some ideas for how you can use video besides just talking head. And then advertising. This also, I would say, the short thing on advertising, it's about targeting. It's about targeting. So on all of the platforms, especially on Facebook and Instagram, you don't want to click boost post. You want to go into Facebook Ads Manager. It's very complicated. You have to set up a business manager now. It is worth investing in the headaches of that right now and learning how to target your ads. It is worth that headache because it will save you so much money and it will get you such great results. So that's really my take home on advertising. Do your Instagram advertising through Facebook Ads Manager, do your Facebook advertising through Facebook's Ads Manager. Boost Post will do something for you, but it'll do it at a greater cost. That convenience has a cost. You owe it to yourself to pop into Facebook Ads Manager, Google Facebook Ads Manager, find out how to use it, especially those targeting options. And if something worked, do it again. All right, sorry that I kind of ran out of time there. Feel free to kind of take the stage back. But I hope that this helped. I see we have some questions, so I will rely on Elaine to show me that.
Thanks, Christine. Wow, that was a lot of really good information. I knew you wouldn't disappoint. That was awesome. So, okay, we do have a lot of questions. I just want to say a couple things. First, just some feedback from attendees that wanted to share with you. Christine is very helpful and knowledgeable. She's providing us with action items for improvement. So thumbs up on that. And also Mara Hoff, we just want to say thank you for tuning in and also tagging us in your post on Instagram about the business series while she was watching. So like all of this coming together and just as you said, sharing other people's content and information and supporting. I mean, I took a lot of notes, Christine, a lot.
Good,
Okay.
and I just put in the chat, like I said I would, my friend's article on the step-by-step for Instagram shopping. I really encourage people to check that out.
Okay, I see that here. So everybody look in chat and you can find that link, grab that. Yeah, IG links, importance of profiles, interesting beats perfect. Like there's so much good information here. So everybody, if you missed anything, this replay will be available later this afternoon. Just go to the Downtown York, PA website. In the merchant section, you'll see the business series and we'll put this replay in addition to, you can see some archives of previous months. Okay, let's get into questions. So I'm going to start with, I find it's a lot easier to engage on Facebook than on Instagram. Do you have any tips for Instagram engagement? Also, does that engagement correlate with the Instagram algorithm just as much?
It does. Instagram definitely notices if you're active on other people's accounts. Actually, LinkedIn is most interested in that. I think the LinkedIn algorithm weighs engagement with other people's posts even more heavily. Instagram, here's the way that I would do that. I feel like on Instagram, it's a lot more natural, actually, to go on and engage with other people's posts. It can be awkward on Facebook because first of all, on Facebook, you're usually engaging on those posts as an individual rather than as a company. If you're engaging as a company, it can look a little awkward on Facebook. If you're engaging as an individual, it may not tie directly to your business. On Instagram, your profile is your business, generally speaking. So it's not weird to be engaging on Instagram as your business. I would say absolutely. Here's what I really recommend. Seek out accounts that are influential locals or locals who are the type of people who you want to be aware of your business. Also seek out related businesses, so businesses who don't exactly do what you do, but who are, you know, in related industries, like maybe other types of food or other types of professional, other types of shops. Also, general local accounts, your local chamber of commerce, you know, maybe a local nonprofit, a local community center, stuff like that. So those three categories: seek out interesting accounts that are that get a lot of engagement. Go to their profile, don't just follow them, and don't just like some posts. Look at a few recent posts that you can put real comments on, because that is the gold for engaging on Instagram. Put real comments on their posts, then people will actually really see you and they'll go check you out and hopefully follow you. But keep doing it. You might even want to keep a list of those useful accounts to engage with, and make sure you keep engaging with them, because you want to not only show up to them, you want to show up to their audiences as well.
Thanks, Christine. I think you may have partially answered this next question, which is any advice that you have for nonprofits. And I think that collaboration you just mentioned is
Nonprofits, though, one really key thing that I'll say is make it clear how active you are. A lot of times you can't show what you're doing depending on the nature of the nonprofit. If you're working with a vulnerable community, for example, you can't necessarily like show their faces,
right.
But talk about what you're doing. Talk about how active you are. Talk about your supporters. Talk about, you know, the people who are doing this work, your employees, your volunteers. You know, really show that you're active, because people are I know fundraising is huge for nonprofits and support is huge for nonprofits. And people are much more likely to give you money and give you support if they see that you're really using it, that you're really active and putting it to use.
Great. That's really good advice, actually. And we just really appreciate your perspective. I know we're very close to time.
Yeah,
so
sorry.
If you would like to stay with us to answer a few more questions, we can go a little bit longer if you have time, Christine, or we can take the answers offline. Okay, so let me start at the top. Would you recommend any other paid service to help boost social media presence, like later StreamYard, Switcher Studio? I haven't even heard of Switchers. I mean, these are things I haven't even heard of.
Those are very different things, and they're not really about boosting presence. So I'll go one at a time. So later, much like Hootsuite or Buffer or something like that, that's not about boosting your presence. That's just about being able to pre-schedule. So I do recommend using that if it's something that would really help de-stress your social media process. I think schedulers are great. I use one called Agora Pulse, but that one's a little more robust. So a lot of my clients, I just use Hootsuite. So those are very useful, because you can kind of schedule some posts in advance, so at least you've got something, and then you can post in the moment stuff in between. The other stuff that was mentioned there, I think those were mostly third-party live streaming softwares. I use third-party live streaming softwares because I feel like they're generally more powerful than the native options. Again, Facebook is investing a lot in Creator Studio, so they are making that a good option for live streaming on Facebook for free. But things like StreamYard, I use Ecamm, BeLive is another popular live streaming software. I feel like those give you more options. They give you a lot more branding options for sure. They give you a lot more control. So I do think third-party tools can be very useful. However, I wouldn't recommend waiting and not playing around with the native options at your disposal that are free. I'd recommend first kind of figuring out how to do things on the platforms, and then figuring out what you'd like to step up, and then looking at those third-party programs. I hope that helps.
Okay, great. Yes, great. Thank you. And appreciate those additional options and resources that you shared.
But they can also provide data. Sorry, I forgot. Some of those third-party tools can provide some data, which is very useful. But there's insights in the platforms themselves too. So make sure you get comfortable with those too before you see what you need extra.
And we could have a whole other conversation about how best to use data. It's really important, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's good to know.
Your audience's data though matters a lot more than anything you can Google.
The audience, your personal business
audience
data. Okay, great. We talked a little bit about this. What are some ways to encourage your audience to reshare your Facebook and Instagram posts? Sometimes it's like, how do you do that without being, shameless?
Yeah.
Any suggestions?
I would recommend inviting them to put their own spin on it. Like, share this post with your favorite blah, 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 or share this post and tell us what you think. Or, I mean, that can backfire. But generally speaking, if you want somebody to share something, make the ask. They're not going to know. But if you want to make the ask without seeming tacky, frame it as, we want to hear from you. You can also incentivize them. You can say, share this post, show us that you did it, and you'll get, a stamp on your card, or you'll get, $5 off or something. So if you incentivize, if you can afford to do that, that's also a great way to encourage people to share things. And another thing is, when they do share it, make sure you're on top of that. Make sure you like and actively comment on that reshare and thank them. You can share things, on your own. You can share their share on your own platforms, on your own story. That also incentivizes people, because they say, wow, the account itself, the business itself is sharing my post. That's so cool. So those are some ways to do it.
And that goes back to your point about don't just broadcast, engage, right?
Yeah.
People know, acknowledge them and support them as well.
Posting a piece of content should never be the end. It should be the beginning of a conversation.
Yes, right. And relationship building. So very important now more than ever, I think.
Yes.
For small businesses, you mentioned about using your logo for your social media pages. If a business does not have a logo, do you have any recommendations for inexpensive ways to just at least create one and get out there?
Absolutely. So those free graphic programs that I talk about, like Canva or Easel or Adobe Spark, those have templates for things like that. So you can, first of all, just hop on and create your own there. Also, there are websites with freelancers like Fiverr. Fiverr is a mixed bag. A lot of times you get what you pay for, but at the same time, sometimes it's, young, up and coming, just starting out designers trying to get their feet wet. Though I mostly recommend that if there's any way for you to actually pay a local designer, you're probably going to get a more robust suite, first of all, of your logo in different permutations that you can use, long, you can use square. Also, I just, believe in patronizing local professionals when you can. But the fact is, don't let it hold you up from marketing yourself. You can put something together on Canva. You can always rebrand later.
Yes. And the beauty of it is we do have such a creative community here in York that, as you said, if you are networking and sharing and engaging on social media, you can probably find somebody right in the community that can help you pull off something.
You're gonna get something better from a designer than you're gonna be able to put together yourself on Canva. But at the same time, I understand not everyone can afford that.
Right. It's a process. As you said, it's just like social media. You go into business, you're trying to do a lot of things yourself, and you have the knowledge until you're able to have bring somebody else on to help and do some of these things for you. Okay. Last one. Is it possible to do a Facebook Live and an IGTV live video at the same time? And do you need a particular program like some of the third-party services that we talked about in order to do that?
Yeah, Instagram has not integrated that well at all. At the moment, none of the third-party tools work with Instagram Live. Zero. You have to do Instagram Live totally on Instagram. There are third-party tools that do it. They keep getting cut off. Instagram keeps cutting them off from their API because they're not technically authorized uses of that. Here's what I have done, though. I did this once. So my third-party tool that I use for live streaming is Ecamm. I'm sure other third-party tools can do this as well. What I did is I plugged my phone into my computer, and in Ecamm, I set my phone as my camera. So by doing that, I was able to, Instagram Live, I still had to just do on the phone. Instagram had no idea it was connected to Ecamm. So Instagram was not getting a feed from Ecamm, but Instagram was providing a feed to my live streaming program that I then had broadcasting to Facebook.
Interesting.
So that is a way of doing it that's, not illegal, because I'm technically not accessing Instagram's API at all. I'm technically just using my phone as a camera.
Right.
Though, with the exception of Instagram, There are programs that allow you to go on multiple platforms at a time. StreamYard does it natively. There's a program called Restream, which can do it itself. You can just broadcast on Restream, and you can broadcast to something like 30 different platforms at a time. I use Ecamm, as I said. Ecamm can connect to Restream. So I can go live on a ton of different platforms from that same place. But Instagram, again, unfortunately, does not legally allow any third-party tools access to broadcast to Instagram Live. But I imagine that will be changing. I would imagine that would change by the end of 2020, but we'll see.
Right, right. You talked about being scrappy.
Yeah.
Scrappy. That's why we love you.
I think scrappy is a superpower because the thing
it really is.
People get
Listen,
off by sterile messaging. People like people, I mean, if it's scrappy, it shows that an actual human put it together. That's my favorite.
Yeah, yeah. No, we love that. We're all about being scrappy, at downtownyorkpa.com. Yeah, we understand that at Downtown Inc. And for businesses, whether you're just starting or growing or expanding or, just using all the resources, because the more you know, the more you can grow and be better and share this information with others. So
done is better than perfect. Do not let waiting to have things perfect and professional. Do not let waiting till you have a budget for a professional photographer. Do not let that hold you back from communicating.
That's awesome. I think that's a great message for this time, particularly. But just in general, staying the course and being determined. And so we just love it. Thank you. I really do appreciate you, Christine. Loved all the information. Again, this will be shared. The video replay will be available on downtownyorkpa.com. And if folks want to get in touch with you, best way is to go to your website.
Sure. I'm very easy to find. I'm the only Christine Gritmon. Make sure you get the spelling of the last name. It's Gritmon, like gritty and like Monday. And I'm the only one there is, which is helpful. I'm also going to put a link in the chat here to a way to connect with me so that you can give me your profiles as well, and we can get in touch.
Perfect. We got it right there. Gritmon.com/connect.
Yep.
Thank you so much. So everyone, thank you again for tuning in, for staying with us for a few extra minutes. And again, we encourage you to save the date for the next business series presented by PNC, which will be August 19th. Also, listen, talking about promoting your own business, Christine just talked about some great ways to engage and to share information. Encourage your customers to nominate you for the Downtown First Awards. There's nothing wrong with that. So go to the homepage for downtownyorkpa.com. There's a banner right at the top with the nomination form. We'd love to recognize you as, a business organization that's putting downtown first when we have the ceremony on August 13th at People's Bank Park. Christine, nothing wrong with encouraging people to celebrate your business as you grow as part of the community. So again, Christine, thank you for joining us. Thank you everybody for staying tuned in, and we hope you all have a great rest of the week. Take care.